Hello, Disney friends, and welcome to episode number 52 of a Disney Life podcast. Thank you so much for being with us today. My name is Missy, and I am joined by my loyal co host, Rachel. Hi, Rachel. It's great to chat with you today.
So good to chat with you today too, Missy.
And isn't it just crazy to hear episode number 52, knowing that we record one of these to post every week? And that means we have come full circle with our first year of recording a Disney Life podcast. So I think that's very exciting. We appreciate you all out there listening and visiting with us every single week to talk about our Disney travels and our travels in general, and the way that we can bring friends and family, friends that become family, all together over this common love for traveling and Disney parks and destinations around the world. So, thank you so much for being here with us today. And I hope that this brings a little bit of magic to your day wherever you may be listening. So, in today's episode, we are going to be talking about one of the pretty popular Disney restaurant locations at Walt Disney World in Florida. It is the 50's Primetime Cafe. So, we're going to just be discussing all about the restaurant, the theming, the menu, and our thoughts on it in today's episode. We also have a top five today of our top five places to let kids play when you're in the parks. If you are a parent or aunt or uncle or anybody who's traveled with kiddos to Disney World in Florida, you know that there are times that they need to burn off some steam. It's tough waiting in those long lines, even when you have that entertainment that comes at the end of the wait. So we have our top five recommendations for you today of places to let them burn off a little bit of steam in the parks. We have a listener question concerning Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party, and then I'll wrap things up at the end with a tip that's actually party related. So, again, thank you so much for being with us today for episode number 52 of A Disney Life. We appreciate you being here. And now let's get right into things with our conversation about the 50's Primetime Cafe.
So if you've listened to our episodes for a while, you know that Missy and I often lament the food choices at Hollywood studios. However, I think 50's Primetime Cafe might be my mom's favorite restaurant on property, which I know sounds kind of weird, but she loves this place and we go and visit here quite often on our trips. And interestingly, 50's Primetime Cafe is also hosted by Coca-Cola. So you may be familiar that several attractions will have hosts and sponsors, but this one is hosted by Coca-Cola. And I don't know that I've ever noticed another restaurant being hosted or sponsored by
I
anyone
cannot think of
before.
one. Certainly, there are some attractions we've seen have sponsors come and go throughout the years, but I don't remember ever seeing a restaurant with a sponsor before. And up until I took a look at the menus in preparation for this podcast, just to make sure it hadn't changed since I was there a few months ago, I never realized it was sponsored by Coca Cola. So, I mean, Coca Cola, maybe get them to display your sponsorship a little bit better. I don't know.
Right.
I mean,
Well,
certainly it's Coke products, and we have Coke
yes.
products all throughout the Walt Disney World Resort at all of their locations. So it's not a surprise that they serve Coca Cola there. I just never realized they were a presenting sponsor of it. So very
No, not at all,
interesting.
because there's a lot of great vintage Coca-Cola memorabilia that could be displayed at the restaurant, and especially when I think of 50's Americana type
Those classic
advertising.
glasses, right?
Yes,
Everybody knows the Coca
yes,
Cola glasses if you
absolutely.
say that.
So it fits, it absolutely fits, even more than just a beverage product, but the whole marketing campaign. But yeah, I had no idea. And maybe, who knows, maybe this is a new sponsorship or hosting, and maybe it is all over the restaurant. And we just
We
haven't.
haven't noticed. So
Yeah.
it's definitely something that we'll keep an eye out for next
Yeah.
time when we're there. And if you've noticed it or know anything about the history of that or that sponsorship or any special offerings there because of it, certainly drop us a line and let us know, because I'd be curious to hear a little bit more about that. Yeah, interesting fact
Yeah.
that I did not know prior. So even I'm learning something from myself here in this
Right.
research.
All right. So the restaurant is located inside of Disney's Hollywood Studios, and it is towards the front entrance as you it is on one side of Echo Lake. If you are familiar where Gertie's ice cream is located, it is almost directly across from there. And so you can find it located there. And it does have a big neon, well, I don't want to say big, but there are neon signs above it saying
Yeah,
50's Primetime Cafe in the very
it's not
classy
too
little
hard to find. Not too
No.
hard to find. Yeah, head down Hollywood Boulevard when you enter the park, and it's basically the first left you can take as you see Echo Lake ahead of you. It'll be on the left. It's right next to Hollywood and Vine, the
Mhm.
buffet there, correct? So
Correct.
they're in the same area of the park side by side there.
Yes,
And
and
it
look
is
for
open.
something that looks like an old diner,
It does
basically.
look like a diner. Yep, that's
Yeah.
exactly what it is, how it's themed, and it's open for lunch and dinner
Mhm.
every day. They do take reservations ahead of time, so 60 days in advance. If you are a Disney World Resort hotel guest, you will be able to book 60 days plus 10 days of your trip. They have a walk-up list, like most of our table service restaurants do. If you're in the park and you don't have a reservation, joining the walk-up list is an option. I was also able to change my reservation there last summer. We had a dinner reservation and we were there in July. And by midday, we were so hot, we needed a break. I just knew we weren't going to make it through the heat without getting some AC during the day. And I was able to modify our dining reservation that day to bump it up by a few hours to get in pretty much immediately when we wanted to. So it's also a restaurant that seems to have some decent availability depending on how busy the parks are as well.
Yeah, I agree. The last time that I ate there, my husband and I took my 2 older children onto Star Tours, and it did not have a long line, but while we were on there, my mom was sitting out with my youngest, and she texted me and she said, "We're hungry, meet us at 50's Primetime Cafe." So she was able to get a party of 6 in on a same-day reservation, but yeah, and it's a fairly decent sized restaurant with a lot of different rooms, and it's neat to go into. If you've never eaten there, it's worth giving a shot because it is a very unique restaurant experience when you're inside of the restaurant.
As you may be able to guess based on the name, the 50s Primetime Cafe, the setting is the 1950s, and you're at mom's kitchen there to enjoy your supper for the night or your lunch for the day, I guess. But to me, it feels more like a supper kind of meal than it does a lunch meal. I believe the menus and the prices are identical at both lunch and dinner seatings. So it's the same menu, but to me, it's a pretty big, solid meal, home cooked foods. And we'll get into details a little bit later after we talk a little more about the setting and the scene of the restaurant. But one of the things that sticks out to me when I think back to being in this restaurant are the black and white TVs that you'll see
Mhm.
all over the place. The large tube TVs sitting on the end of the countertops. Some of them are up on shelving on the walls. The entire restaurant, while Rachel had mentioned it is large, it's not like a big open cafeteria style restaurant like you'd see next door at Hollywood and Vine. We have a lot of partitions up making these separate rooms and really giving it that homey type feel. And the kitchen areas are basically your size of a typical kitchen. And they'll have a couple different tables in there. So most of the rooms aren't going to be just for your party unless you're traveling with a pretty large group. But the tables, I would say, typically seat comfortably 4 to 6 or 8 guests, depending on the layout and exactly where you are seated in the restaurant. And I love that all of the decor is very reminiscent of the 1950s as well. You'll see salt and pepper shakers and cookie jars. I could remember, and I have some photos. There was a cookie jar that looked like corn on the cob and matching
I know.
matching salt and pepper shakers in the room we are in. That kind of look that they had back during that time frame that you just never know what kind of goofy things you're going to see. There are some vegetable decorations hanging on the wall. You may see some jello molds or that type of thing, depending on the room that you're in. Things that really will take you back to the 50s, I guess, even if you've never lived in the 50s. So when I was thinking about what I wanted to talk about in this podcast, my first thought was, well, kids these days, they don't even know what it was like in the 50s. And then I realized, wait a minute, girl, you were born in the end of 1979. You were not alive in the 50s either. Yet somehow I feel like I know what it was like to be alive in the 50s. So I
Right.
guess it's just from seeing different TV shows from back during that time, and probably because a lot of things from the 50s still remained in my family's, my grandparents' kitchens through the 80s and 90s as I was growing up. It kind of feels like going back to grandma's kitchen, even though I'm not personally traveling back in memories to the 90s. I get what that's about. A lot of those rooms have the countertop tables
Yeah.
with the curved ends and the shelves in them. My grandfather, who is still here with us, his kitchen still has a countertop like that in
Oh,
his kitchen
wow.
with those rounded shelves at the end. He's 95 years old And to me, I guess it really feels like going back to grandma's because it truly
Mhm.
does look like what my grandma's house looked like. So I guess to me in particular, it really gives me that feel. And if you haven't experienced it before, you'll see it on those black and white TVs there. I know when we were there, the Dick Van Dyke Show was playing on
Oh,
the
really?
TV, which I thought was super cool given Dick Van Dyke and all of his incredible accomplishments and
Mhm.
contributions to the Walt Disney Company since back then all the way to present day. So I thought that was a really special added touch, but I'm sure they run a lot of TV shows on there. I haven't actually sat to see what they all are. There's probably a list out there on the
Yeah,
internet
probably.
somewhere.
I couldn't find it either. I always look for I grew up watching I Love Lucy. I
Uh-huh.
remember when I was a kid and it would be on, Nickelodeon on the
Nick
eve
at
at
Night,
night,
right?
Nick
Was
at
it
Night,
Nick at
yes,
Night?
and I
Yep.
remember staying up, and my mom and I on Friday nights would go climb into her bed and watch it while, my dad was probably
Aw.
watching some kind of sports in the living room, and we would watch that for, 2, 3 hours on the weekend, so I've never seen that. I mean, I'm guessing that they don't have the rights to that, but yes,
Oh,
you can watch TV. It's a TV dinner, as they would say, but
it
not
is.
with the plastic cartons, but yeah, the countertop tables, that's exactly what I think of, and the heavy kind of vinyl type chairs with the metal frames. You see
Mhm.
all of those. If you have a bigger party, you're going to be seated at more just a typical table that probably has a TV with an eyesight, depending on where you are seated at the table, but you won't be at the kitchen style table if you do have a larger party. But I've been there with a party of 4 before, and we have been seated at the round countertop type tables with the TV right smack in front of us. And if anything, it is kind of reminiscent of eras bygone, but it's also fun for the kids too. I'll say even when you walk into the lounge and you're waiting to seat there, they have the mid-century modern type furniture located, the ones with, the very angular and low to the ground. There's a black and white TV
Mhm.
there. There's wood paneling, there's books and knickknacks on the bookshelves. It's really just interesting to check it out and look and see at all the details that you can find. But it also reminds me of this scene on Spaceship Earth where they're going and you see the moon landing. That's
It's
exactly what it
so
makes me
funny you
think
said
of.
that because as you were describing that just now to me and our listeners, that is exactly what I was picturing is
Yeah.
that scene in Spaceship Earth. That's what the seating looks like, the couch and the low chairs and the family all
Yeah.
gathered there in front of that small TV. That's kind of funny. That's
Yes,
exactly
yeah.
what I was picturing as you were describing it. But I would imagine a lot of our listeners know that scene also. If you're a Disney fan and you've been on Spaceship Earth, you know the scene that she means.
Yes, absolutely. So let's talk about the wait staff too, because the wait staff there is also unique. They do treat you as if you are family. A lot of times, I they tell us to call them cousins. Do you?
Yes.
Okay.
That's been my experience also. The times that I've been there, it's been your cousins there helping mom and getting the food on the table and ready for you to eat. And you better mind your manners and follow the rules. This is not a modern day dinner where I'm afraid many families out there who, if they even gather at the same table to eat each evening, have phones present and aren't really involved in conversation. So maybe this is when it all started. Maybe having the TV there back in the day is what it started allowing families to communicate a little bit less. I'm guilty of having a TV in my kitchen. I have had a TV in there ever since we got married. But over the years, we turned the TV on less and less and are trying to be talking to each other more because screen time has become so prevalent anymore. But yes, it's the cousins there who are helping mom and or your aunt out. Maybe you're at your aunt's house. I'm not entirely sure. It may depend on what server you have that day and what the
Right.
situation is. But they will make sure you keep your elbows off of that table. They'll make sure that you finish your vegetables. And I don't know what your experience has been there, Rachel, but I've been there a few times that vegetables have not been cleaned off the plate. And they have a couple different silly antics that they handle that with. It kind of reminds me of the interactive type dining you have over there at Whispering Canyon Cafe at Wilderness Lodge that the servers really get into their roles.
Yes.
When we were there last summer, one of the kids in our party did not finish her meal, and she had to stand up with the server and sing "I'm a Little Teapot," which was fun for her. It was fun for us to watch. And it was also fun for the tables around us because there were a couple other families seated within that same kitchen area as us, and they joined in the singing and laughing and having a good time as well. One of the teenage boys with us didn't finish his meal, and we were all told to shame him. And we just had to, he stood there. We all yelled, shame, 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 which was the silliest thing. I don't think they really did that back in the 1950s, but
Yeah.
I don't
You
know.
do? Yeah.
Maybe they did do that.
Well, I have eaten there in most recent times with young children, and they're pretty
Mhm.
light on the young kids, and I can understand that because kids might not understand the shtick. It's
Right.
not
Yeah, it was
rowdy.
perfect for these teenagers, and they
Right.
played into it very well, and we had a fun ongoing conversation throughout our entire meal with our server as he would come and go from the kitchen helping mom. So, it's certainly nothing that you have to be worried about, will be taken out of hand. They can read the room. They know,
Yes,
if
they're
somebody's
good.
going to want to interact with all of the silliness or not, so you don't need to worry. Although my brother-in-law at one point, this was going back probably 8 or 10 years, he claims to not be a Disney fan, although he does periodically return there with us, and he's more of a world traveler and has seen more things than I could even imagine, and whenever he sends pictures back home to us, he seems to always be comparing things to what I will relate to, and that, this is like this at Disney, and this is like that at Disney, which I certainly get a kick out of. But
Yeah.
when he was there with us, the server overheard him say he hated it there.
Oh,
And
no.
that's a four-letter word. You don't say hate. And he had to go into the other room and apologize. The server actually had him leave our area, and he announced how he had been so bold and he needed to apologize to everybody. And it's still something that we laugh about because Uncle
That's
Dave
funny.
was not entertained at the 50s prime time.
That's really funny. No, I haven't had that. They pick on my husband quite a bit, but, he takes it all very well, and
Mhm.
so but I have noticed that my younger kids, they don't really pick on or anything like that, but they're also not getting vegetables. I'll get the vegetables for them, but
They will let you interchange also. So if you don't
yes,
want the green beans, you can substitute for something else.
yes,
They have french fries and different things there. It is a typical Disney restaurant.
yeah.
So don't be too apprehensive about that whole side of things. You won't be force fed the veggies. Trust me.
So one time years ago, we were eating there and we had a big group with us and we were in one of the back rooms. There's a wall of tables and it's just kind of different tables set up and so they can move them if you have a big party. But we live in a fairly small city type town and our server asked us immediately, "Hey, where are you from?" We told her and she said, "Wait, are you putting me on?" She thought we were putting her on because her other table was from the exact same town.
Get out of here.
Yeah,
That's
we
so
didn't know
funny.
them, but, we were like, "No, we're not. We don't." So she made us introduce ourselves to each other and everything like that, but yeah, it was just a coincidence, a weird coincidence, but, yeah, she thought immediately we were putting her on or had put each other up to it or something, but no.
And shout out to her for actually paying attention enough that she remembered that because that could
Yes.
so easily be a thing that a cast member who didn't really care and
Yeah.
wasn't really into their important role there as that server could just kind of let it go and not remember. So I love that she remembered your small town name,
Yeah.
even though I'm sure it was just minutes later, but still, they're so busy. They have so much going on there.
Yes.
So that's a lot of fun.
Yes. So should we get into the menus now?
I think, I mean, that's what we're all there for, right?
Yeah,
Is the food.
absolutely.
So like we said, this is a home cooked meal. I mean, mom is back there in that kitchen making your food for you. So you're going to have some pretty hearty food there. Do you have a favorite on the menu, Rachel, or just want to go through what we have? How do you want to do this?
So I've tried several things on the menu. For appetizers, we often get the onion rings. So we have those quite a bit. Those are very, very good. Usually, if someplace has onion rings, my mom will order them. And my husband, who absolutely detests onions and will not eat anything with onion in it, will eat an onion ring. Explain that to me. I don't know, but
I could explain that to you because I may be guilty of the exact same thing
okay.
as him. So we would get along well if we were to travel together. But yeah, so I've never tried the onion rings there, but maybe I need to get somebody I'm with to order one because I
Maybe
certainly
you
wouldn't
do.
eat a
Yeah.
bunch of them, but if they're done just right and have the right crunch and the right coating on them, I can see how
Yes.
it would be palatable to those of us
Right.
who don't typically partake in onions.
Do you order any appetizers there? So they have a cornbread skillet, shrimp cocktail, onion rings, a salad, or a corn chowder that is there on the menu currently. Do you typically get an appetizer there, or do you go straight to the
So
entrees?
I think we go straight to the entrees because they
Okay.
are so filling. I really don't remember ever ordering an appetizer there. And what I'll typically do, because I just can't decide what I want, is I'll do that platter option that includes like the sampler of everything.
Yes.
So it's the pot roast, the meatloaf, and the fried chicken there, all with one meal. And I believe I had the mashed potatoes with it and the green beans last time. It is a full meal. I mean, it's tough to finish
Mhm.
it all, but you have to or you'll be shamed.
Yeah.
It's a very, very hearty meal. So, yeah, I
Yes.
usually just get right into it because I want room for dessert also. So we can get into that in a bit. But do you have a favorite entree there?
Actually, yes, I do. So, I like the fried chicken there a lot. Usually
Mhm.
somebody in our party will also get the sampler, and the most of the menu items are named, like, after an aunt or an uncle or a grandpa or
Yes.
grandpa or grandma. I love Grandpa Jean's chicken pot pie. I
Okay.
think
I've
their
never
chicken
had
pot pie,
that.
it's so good. And, the first time that I ever had it, it was actually on the children's menu.
Okay.
And when my niece and nephew were younger, my mom and I would take them quite a bit to the parks, just us, and my nephew ordered it one time, and he ate a few bites. Now, a dessert that I'm sure we'll get into, one of the milkshakes, he had a milkshake, so he filled himself up on the milkshake before he ever got his
Yeah,
entree.
that's easy to do.
Yes. So I ended up trying some of his chicken pot pie, and it was delicious. And at the time, they had a little puff pastry shaped as Mickey Mouse, the Mickey ears,
Aw.
Mickey head, on top of the chicken pot pie. It was so cute, and it was really good. It was not your traditional pie type crust on there, but it was delicious. And so I usually get the chicken pot pie now because of that. So I really enjoy it.
Okay. Well, that's good I guess I need to go back and keep an eye out for Coca-Cola displays and
Yeah.
have the chicken pot pie because
Yeah.
I do love chicken pot pie. Like it's one of my favorite things
Yes.
to eat. Both of my kids love it. It's something so easy to make at home. Although I cheat a bit and I buy the Pillsbury crust already made
Me
to
too.
like
Absolutely.
yeah. Uh, but so good. So I would love to try that there. So I will add that to my to-do list for sure. So have you had the fried chicken and the other stuff
Yes, I have
before?
had
Like
the
you
fried
just
chicken. I've had the fried chicken, and it's really good fried chicken, and again, I am a Southerner, and I'm picky about my fried chicken, and this has good fried chicken, and Homecoming has good fried chicken, so both places get my stamp of approval for their fried chicken, and I think one of the reasons why my mom loves this restaurant so much is because of the comfort food that it offers. This really reminds me of just when my entire big family would get together and everybody kinda bring potluck meals, and this is the kind of
Mhm.
stuff like, my grandmother would always make a pot roast or, things like that. These are the kind of things that we would bring to the table, and, this is also one of my grandmother's favorites while she was alive, and she would always get the pot roast. So, I've heard that the pot roast is really good. I haven't tried it, but, because 'cause I'm usually stuck either on the fried chicken or the chicken pot pie.
What you need next time is the sampler platter and the chicken pot pie. That's what I'm trying to say here.
Yes. I'll see it well, and
Share
I
it
would
with
love
somebody.
maybe if they could switch out the meatloaf for, chicken pot pie. Can you give me a small one so I can have
Can I have a little tiny pot pie, please?
just on a little
So
one? Yes.
So you our listeners may be out there thinking, who wants to eat that kind of food in the heat of Florida? And I am right there with you. As I had said when we started this conversation today, the last time I dined there was in July and it was so hot and we were going there because we were so hot and we needed a break from the heat. And I thought going in there that I wasn't really going to want to eat anything. I was thinking, do they have fries? Can I just get some fries or something, or just a dessert because I didn't want that heavy food. But then I got in there, and once you get into the experience and you get comfortable and you have some water and cool down, you're going to be right into it and you're going to want that
Yes.
food no matter how hot and uncomfortable it is outside because it is very cozy in mom's kitchen and it just
Yes,
all seems right. Once you get in there, it all makes sense.
yes, the restaurant itself is not hot and stuffy in there, so definitely it is nice and it's good and it is good comfort food, and I agree, and I last time I was there, it was so hot outside, I think I only got the corn chowder because I just was not
That's an
hungry.
odd thing to choose
I
when
didn't
it's
want a
hot.
salad.
Okay,
Yeah, I know, right?
whatever works.
But anyway, so, I skipped my chicken pot pie and just got some soup there, but, and I think a reason for it too is I, wanted to save room for dessert because a lot of times I eat so much that I can't eat
You
any
can't
dessert.
fit the dessert, right?
Yes.
So, when I was there last, I had the chocolate cake, it had some vanilla ice cream with it, it was so good. I love me a good chocolate cake, so I thought that was delicious. Do you wanna go over what the rest of the I don't even know what the other menu options are because to
Yeah,
me, when
so
there's a chocolate option on the menu, like,
there's a
that's just what
chocolate
I'm going
peanut butter layered cake,
I
and you
think
can get
that's
it.
what that must have been what it was.
Okay, and you can get an Alamo too. There's also a raspberry key lime pie, a traditional warm apple crisp, and you can get that a la mode as well, and then a vanilla strawberry shortcake that you can also order too. So all of those come on, I guess, the adult dessert menu. The kids have their own kind of little dessert, which almost sounds like an ambrosia salad. It is a whipped pineapple fluff studded with cubes of strawberry, lime, and orange gelatin. So kind of their
Yep,
take.
that's the 50s
Yes.
coming into it there.
You have a Jello mold, that is that's what they're using, right?
Mhm. I'm gonna pass on that one and stick with
Yeah.
my chocolate cake. So it
Mhm.
must have been the chocolate peanut butter cake that
Okay.
I had, which doesn't surprise me because chocolate and peanut butter, I think, is a match made in heaven. I know not everybody agrees with that. I know some specific listeners we have out there that don't agree with that, but
Okay. But they're wrong.
I will fight that to the end because they are very
Yes.
wrong. It is the right way to do things.
So, also, I'll mention the kids menu real quick. They do have salmon and a sloppy joe, which I just could not imagine giving my children a sloppy joe.
I don't wanna smell a sloppy Joe any day. I think my kids like them, but, I mean, it's something I never make because it's not something I can stomach, but,
Yeah.
yeah, it's an option there if you want
Yeah,
it.
I haven't had one in years, but I can only imagine the mess. There's also grilled chicken, and what my children would gravitate towards would be the chicken strips. So there are chicken strips there. However, there are no french fries on the menu. Your kids can select 2 sides, which could be green beans and carrots, that wonderful Jello salad I told you about, macaroni and
Mhm.
cheese, corn, mashed potatoes, a fruit salad, or a seasonal cupcake. So I do appreciate sit-down meals. Disney also offers kind of a dessert option for the kids in their kids' menus. That's an easy way to get a side that might be a vegetable or French fries, and also order a small dessert for them to enjoy.
So there's one other big part of this meal that we haven't talked about yet, and that is the beverages. So there is a full bar located right there next to the 50's Primetime Cafe. It's called the Tune In Lounge. And the Tune In Lounge also has that same retro feel to it. It has the black and white TVs. It is open from when the 50's Cafe opens until it closes at night. And it has a full bar of offerings, but they have some specialty beverages also. And like the items on the food menu are named after certain relatives. I know that the ones on the bar menu, the cocktail menu, are as well. I think it was dad's. I'm trying to remember exactly what I had. It was the dad's. I have a note of
Is
it
it
here. A
electric lemonade?
dad's electric lemonade with
Okay.
the glow cube is what I had when I was there. And that was delicious. Now it is certainly nothing my dad would ever choose. I don't think but the dad at the 50's Cafe, I guess it's his specialty. And I had a great time waiting for our table to be ready in the lounge. They served us promptly. We all just kind of relaxed and enjoyed the environment and looked at the decor of it for a few minutes before our table was ready. And then I was able to just take my drink right in with me. But you can order those drinks from in the restaurant also. They have some non alcoholic options. And like Rachel mentioned, they've got the milkshakes too. So did
Yes.
you, were there any of those things that you wanted to touch on a bit,
So
Rachel?
yeah, I do want to touch on. I've had grandma's picnic punch before. That was really good. Grandma makes a good punch, but I also think next time I might try the toasted marshmallow old fashioned. That kind of piques my
That
interest
did
at the
sound so
moment.
good. Let's
Yes,
go there together, Rachel. We'll
let's
go there
do it.
some
Yes,
evening and just try
absolutely.
that old fashioned.
That would be wonderful. So when I think of 50's prime time, I do think of the glow cubes. You can get the glow cubes at other places, but I think it just ties into the neon feel of the 50's. So one drink that is on the menu that is for everyone that many people often talk about when they talk about 50's prime time is the peanut butter and jelly milkshake. Have you had this before?
I'm trying to remember because I was about to say I never have. And now I think maybe I tasted somebody's because for some reason I'm thinking it wasn't as disgusting as I had thought it was going to be. And I love peanut butter. We've covered that. I love
Mhm.
peanut butter with pretty much anything. So I think I've had just a taste of this. I don't know if I could do a whole lot more than a taste, but are you a fan?
No, I've done the same thing. I've had a taste. This is another instance where my niece ordered it one time, and I just wanted to try it because I Love peanut butter milkshakes. Peanut butter banana, peanut butter and chocolate milkshakes are delicious, but yeah, the jelly threw me off.
Um,
And yeah, it was not as bad as I expected, but I just really when I'm hot in the summer heat, ice cream is actually not one of my favorite things to eat because dairy is so heavy.
right.
And so
Yeah,
I
dairy
just
doesn't sit well with me either, so it's
yeah,
not going to be my first choice, although I
yeah,
did have a little ice cream with my peanut butter cake,
right.
but still, that's different
That's
than a whole
perfectly
milkshake.
fine. For a while, they were it was kind of didn't they have a bottomless milkshake with it? Or I might be thinking of something else.
Whispering Canyon Cafe has the bottomless
Okay,
milkshake. I don't know if East Primetime ever did. I don't recall
okay.
one there, but it doesn't mean they didn't. They may
Right.
have.
I do know that when a milkshake has been ordered because I think my son has ordered this. My son would eat a PB&J for every meal every day unless I offered him pizza instead. So he loves PB&J and I think he got it and they had the cup for him and they also brought the cup that they stir in, the stainless steel one. And
So to
so
fill the rest, like with the
yeah,
what didn't fit in the
and
cup,
I
yeah.
thought that was great. I thought that was a nice gesture. They didn't have to do that, but it's, here's the remainder of it, and I think I tried it from that one when I tried it that time, so
Mhm.
I could get a fresh PB&J. I also wanna mention another one that I actually think I would order. This is a non-alcoholic drink called the Enchanting Ember Lemonade, and it is Minute Maid
Huh.
premium lemonade, strawberry, and hot honey, which
Huh.
sounds so unique, and I really like hot honey, so I think I would try that.
Pretty unique drink. That sounds like something we'd get over at Epcot at a festival,
Yeah,
really.
it does. It absolutely does, but that's here at 50's prime time, and not really I would say this is probably not very themed because I couldn't imagine hot honey was big on grandma's list, but you never know. Maybe it was.
You never know.
But that yeah, those are the beverages, and, they do have a really good bar menu. There is a PB&J cocktail. Again, people are welcome to enjoy that. I don't know how I feel
How
about
that'll
that
be?
one.
Yeah.
There is a PB&J cocktail, also a couple of margaritas on the list, an espresso martini, and I know that you love those.
I do enjoy one of
Yes.
those on occasion, yes.
And an ultimate Long Island iced tea. I think that's something else that kinda reminds me of retro drinks and flavors, having
Again,
a Long
something
Island
else
iced
I
tea.
would enjoy on occasion, yes.
So and of course, there's also allergy-friendly options too. If you have somebody in your party who has a food allergy, Disney is fantastic at taking care of those, and they will be glad to accommodate you and let your server and your host know when you arrive that you will need an allergy-friendly menu.
So I think it's safe to say that out of the dining options, the table service options, which this is, I don't think we mentioned earlier, it's one table service credit
Yep.
using the Disney dining plan. I think it's safe to say it's probably my favorite table service restaurant currently at the studios. I think it has a wide enough variety of a menu. It's not a buffet. I
Mhm.
don't like the all you can eat kind of stuff. I'm old enough now. I'm kind of over that, I guess you could say. Just can't eat the way I used to. And
Mhm,
I
mhm.
feel like a lot goes to waste there. I'd rather pick and choose from a menu. I mean, Brown Derby is great, obviously, but you're going to pay a little bit less here with this. And I feel like there are plenty of options. So if I had
Yeah,
to choose just one, I think it would probably be there. What about you?
I would say the same thing, which I have to admit I have not been to Hollywood Brown Derby, so I can't compare, but
Rachel, another thing for our
I
list.
know. So there's yeah, restaurants of all things, but that is on my list to try someday, but even looking at options for menus, I would tend to go towards 50's prime time, and I think it's pretty reasonably priced when you all things considered. The platter dish is the most expensive on the menu, but you get a lot of food with that. You could
Mhm.
easily feed 2 people off of it if you wanted to, and I don't know about plate sharing here, but, that would be something worth asking if you go in to try it, but you don't have a huge appetite.
I'd imagine it would be okay. I mean, it's not like you're going into a place with a fixed price and you're trying to only pay
Yeah,
for one. If you're ordering that and you want to save room for dessert or something like that, or even a dessert to share, I would imagine they would welcome that. So
right.
overall, I think it's a great restaurant. It's a fun location inside of the parks there. It pays a little bit of homage to, I guess you could say, it's not really, it's not animation. And it's not technically filmmaking, but it's TV. So
Mhm.
it's very close along the same lines there. I guess that's where we originated with this restaurant to start with there. So
Yeah, so check it out next time. Bring your sense of humor and your appetite, and go check out 50's Primetime Cafe next time you're inside Hollywood Studios. So, for today's top five, we are talking about the top five places to let the kids play inside of the parks. If you have traveled to Walt Disney World with children, you know that it can be a very tiring experience for you and them, but sometimes they just need to get those little bursts of energy out. So, we are going to be sharing our top five places where you can take your kids next time to let them get their energy out. So, Missy, will you start us out with your number five?
So I will happily start us off. I would just like to everybody to be aware that Rachel's the one with the little kiddos. So I feel like I may be a little out of touch with what the current options are. But these are the places I would recommend. Like if I was there right now with somebody with little kiddos, this is what I would do. So they're not necessarily places that are designated. They're really not places that are designated to be kids' play areas, other than I think one. So
Okay.
I'm going to start off at Animal Kingdom because I did come up with one for each park. Just thought that might be helpful for our listeners. And it's the Maharaja Jungle Trek. So, of course, you just can't let the kids run wild there, but these are some walking trails where there are animals to see and things to learn. And it's the type of place where they can wander on the paths as long as you're there nearby them, of course, and use a little bit of steam and be entertained by the animals that they're able to see along the way. It's somewhere you can get out of the stroller. You don't need to be carried and just get down and wander on your own in a mostly contained place. It's not like you're out on the open pathways and they're not really that busy. I feel like there are certain times a day you'll barely ever see anybody on as well. So, Maharaja Jungle Trek at Disney's Animal Kingdom.
Okay, so we often talk about that we have not discussed these beforehand and we still have not discussed these. So Missy and I will definitely have different takes on this top five list. I don't have anything for each park. I have something for the other three, but with the dig site now gone
Yeah.
until it turns into something else, that would have been a fantastic place. But obviously, we have recorded this since that has closed down. But my number five is going to take us to Epcot, and this is the Space Base Playground inside of Mission Space. So, if you are not aware because you have not ventured over to Mission Space, if you enter through the exit, there is a small gift shop there. Keep going, and there is actually an indoor playground for young children. So, this is
I
a
had
fan.
absolutely no idea. Like, you could
Really?
be completely lying right now, and I would not know because I have never heard of this. Also, Mission Space is probably one of two rides I have never been on. When it
Well,
first opened
yeah.
back in like 2006, I was pregnant, so I couldn't ride it, and there's been nothing that has made me want to go on it ever since.
So, we
So I've
ride.
never been
Yeah,
beyond that gift shop, but I did not know there was a play area.
there
Now
is.
I need to go.
Yeah, and you wouldn't know otherwise. You would not. There's no signage outside. And if you
Huh.
have members of your party who are going to go on Mission Space and you're sitting out with a child, there's no shaded area over there. If you're familiar with that building at all, there's really no shade. So go inside there and it's an indoor playground. If you are entering through the exit, it will be on your left and it's kind of tucked back there. I have seen it at times where it has been closed, but it is there and open for young kids to go and play at an indoor space that is air conditioned and safe and not hurling you through a space simulator. So it's a good
Sounds
option.
like it
Yeah.
was actually designed for me too, so I
Yeah.
better go check it out. Good to
Yes.
know. That's a good
Yeah.
one, Rachel. See, I knew you were gonna put me to shame here, but I'm
Right.
trying. I am trying. Okay, so my next one, my number 4, is actually an area intended for playing. It's in Storybook Circus over in the Magic Kingdom, and it's the Casey Jr. Slash and Soak Station. So I think the name pretty much explains what it is. It's a little area with some water spraying. It's right next to where you'll see Pete's Silly Slideshow. It's by the Barnstormer. The bathroom's back there in that area, Storybook Circus. Make sure you have a change of clothes for your kiddos if you're going to let them play in there because they will get soaked if they're in there, even just for a short amount of time. If they know how to find the water, they're going to get wet. So only take them there if you are prepared to put dry clothes on them or if they want to be wet for the rest of the day. But
Mhm.
it's a great area to blow off some steam in the Magic Kingdom.
Yeah, I'll echo on this one because this one did make my list too. My kids
Okay.
absolutely love it and gravitate towards it. Where the restrooms are, there is a family-sized restroom in the center there, so we try to wait for until that one is open, and then I just take all my kids at the same time to change their clothes. So we're not taking up a whole lot of stalls or anything like that in the other restroom. It's a lot easier too having some floor space to get everybody changed. But yes, your children will get absolutely soaked, and it's not enclosed, but there's a brick wall around it where you can go as a parent and sit. And you have a pretty good view of the entire space so you don't necessarily lose sight of them for a long amount of time, which is also nice too. It's pretty contained into one small area.
Okay.
All right.
Good
So what's your
stuff.
number
All right, my
3?
number
So
3.
I'll put that
All
as
right.
my number 4 too.
Huge disclaimer with my number 3. This is
Okay.
not somewhere to just let your kids go on the loose, but I had a hard time at the studios thinking of where I would go to, like, let a kid get down and play for a bit. So, I'm going with One Man's Dream because it's indoor and air conditioned. Please don't just let your kids run loose in there and mess around because there is a lot of stuff in there that needs to be respected along with other guests. So, don't let them loose. I'm a little sad thinking back to, we used to have Launch Bay. That was a good space for that type of thing. Going way back, we had the Honey I Shrunk the Kids play place. I don't know if you
I
remember
love
that,
today's play
Gracie.
place. I
That
would
was
love to have
around
that back.
still when my Gracie was real little. I could remember having her there, but that closed many years ago. I'm pretty sure that was back where Galaxy's Edge is now, right? I
Yes.
think that was eliminated as part of that whole change of that park area. So I was able to think of some previous places there, but there really isn't anywhere there right now. So we'll see what happens with that Launch Bay building when it reopens, if there's any free space in there. If not, if you need to be out of the sun for a bit and in some air conditioning, you cannot take strollers into the One Man's Dream exhibit area. And certainly, I don't mean take them into the show in there and set them down and let them run. There are some pretty decent sized hallways where you'll see all of the Disney memorabilia displayed. And it's a place where you can safely let your kiddo get down and walk around on their own a bit, at least, rather than being stuck in a stroller. So that's the best I could do with the studios.
Okay. Well, Studios actually has my number 1, but we'll wait for
Stop
that. We're
it.
not quite there
What
yet.
am I
So,
forgetting? I can't
well,
wait to hear.
it's not that you're forgetting. I just took a different spin on it. All right. So number 3 for me would be Journey of Water at Epcot. With
Oh,
Moana. And I think this is a great place. Now, it's not something that you will let your kids loose in because you can lose sight of them very quickly, very easily. But as far as different interactive displays, 1, there's displays, 2, it's educational, and 3, kids love water. So it's a really good place to let them get out and explore.
okay. That's a good idea. I didn't
Yeah.
think of that. But for my number 2, I am in Epcot, and I urge you to go off of the beaten path of the regular World Showcase path and check out some of the kind of back areas of some of the countries in World Showcase. You could wander around in Canada near the waterfalls. I could remember being in Morocco on our last trip, and there's so much more space in Morocco than just what's
Yes.
developed right there along the path. There are
Yes.
some, winding pathways back there. Almost every country, not everyone, but more than half, I would say, of the countries have some back pathways leading maybe to some stores or restaurants or
Mhm.
something off of that main beaten pathway. So these are areas that if you can find a quiet spot back there, your kiddo will be able to get down and kind of experience some time on their own there in World Showcase.
That's a great suggestion. As an adult, I'd like to go walk through there too.
Yes. It's a
Right.
way
So,
to escape the crowds.
yes, absolutely. So my number 2 is still in Epcot, and this is ImageWorks, the What If Labs, right outside the exit as you exit off the Journey into Imagination with Figment attraction.
Mhm.
And you know what? This is one of my favorite play places when I was a kid there too. I remember going through with my cousins, and we would just have a blast in this area. And my kids love to go on this attraction and then love to go and make music with their hands. Press there's a screens on as you exit, and it makes a memory pattern with lights and sounds, and there's that they love to do too. So this is another great place that you can just let your kids kind of interact with some things and get some wiggles out as after they've been sitting around a bit. But this always makes my kids excited. As soon as they see it open up, they take off running to go and try some things out.
That is such a great suggestion because a lot of these places, the places you're naming that are at the end of rides, and I'm thinking of a couple other ones as we're talking through this. And, there's constantly an ongoing joke about there always being a gift shop at the end of rides. You don't actually have to go on the ride to get into that space.
Mhm.
Spaceship Earth is another one. At the exit of
Yeah.
Spaceship Earth, you go through that area. But you can access these just by entering through their exits, basically. If you didn't want to ride the Figment ride for any reason, if the line was too long, or if your kids are afraid of the loud sounds, or you don't want to smell the skunk smell, whatever. I've
Mhm.
heard it all from my kids at this point. You can still enter these areas to experience these things. So I didn't even think of any of those options, and you're spot on with them, Rachel. Excellent thinking
Well,
there.
I would also say the ages of our children, really make this one jump out too because your kids aren't going to be as interested in these things as my kids are. So, my kids see these and they want to try everything because they're at that age. So it definitely is something that I know what's coming when we exit the attraction that we're going to be hurting children for a while trying to get them all together.
It's also possible I'm just the mean mom because I could remember that, like, they always, I could picture them at the end of the Figment ride, and there's something that you're conducting, like some
Yes.
type of drum major or band conducting, or there's some type of conducting right there when you exit. My kids automatically run to that. My oldest daughter was a drum major for 3 years at her high school band before she graduated. It's something my other daughter is interested in possibly doing someday also. So they run right to that. And I'm always like, let's go, let's go. There's so much to do here other than that. And I feel like that whole side of the park is often neglected by me because when I'm in Epcot, I'm typically in a rush to get over to World Showcase, which you may
Yes.
be able to tell because my suggestion was basically all of World Showcase.
Same
But
here.
there is a lot to offer on that side of the park also.
All right, so now we're down to our number 1. It's been a good list so far and not a lot of overlap. So what do you have for number 1?
So, Rachel, ironically enough, when I think of my number one, I think of you and your kiddos
Okay.
because my number one is the hub grass outside of the
Yes.
castle, in front of the castle at Magic Kingdom. Rachel has taken some amazing photos there of her kids through the years. And there's something that always sticks in my mind when I think of that area. But when it comes down to it, when you think about going to Disney World, to Magic Kingdom, the quintessential thing, the view everybody's looking for, the photos everyone wants, it's typically right there in front of that castle. So if you can just position yourself there, now I know it's going to be hot and it's going to be sunny. It could be crowded depending on the time of day. Usually midday, those grassy areas are pretty open. You know,
Mhm.
they're closed off and they're busy during fireworks and they use them for dessert parties depending on exactly where you are. But in general, the hub grass there in front of the castle has a great view of the castle. You may be able to get some great photos while you're sitting there, and it's some space where the kiddos can kind of run around and not be in the sidewalks and pathways of the hub area of the Magic
Yes.
Kingdom.
That's
So
a great one. That's an absolutely great one. Glad I could inspire that
you
one
did
for
inspire
you.
it, Rachel. Yes. I'm like, where does Rachel put her kids? I need one good one
Right
on
here,
here.
right there. So my number 1, it might be cheating a little bit, but I think you'll know where I'm
Oh,
going with this once I say it. So this is a show,
okay.
and this is going to take us back to Hollywood Studios. This
Okay.
has been several different shows and themes throughout the year.
I think I just figured out where you're
Yes.
going.
So now it is a Mickey Mouse Clubhouse theme. Disney Junior Mickey Mouse Clubhouse Live is a great place to let your kids play. Now, you do have to wait for the shows, and it is a contained play area, but kids love music and they love to dance. So combine those two things together with their favorite characters, and you have some energy being burned
Okay,
very
that is an
easily.
excellent idea, and I don't know how I didn't think that because I was right there in that vicinity thinking of the old launch bay, and it
Mhm.
just that dance party never occurred to me. Okay, so that's a really good one. I like that
Yeah.
one. Wow, we had some. If you are out there and you're visiting Disney World soon with some young kiddos, you should be all set now with some ideas because we were mostly all opposite, like different there. We didn't
Yeah.
double up on much, and those are all some really good ideas, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. So, next time you're there, the kids need to get some wiggles out. We've sent some places. A lot of those are air conditioned, and so that's for your benefit and their benefit too. So be sure to check those out. All right, let's move into our question of the week this week. So, a listener asks, how soon should I purchase my Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween party tickets? These went on sale at the beginning of May, and so now they are on sale for the Halloween parties beginning in August and running through October 31st. So, Missy, how soon should someone purchase their Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween party tickets?
Very soon. They should buy them very, very soon, as long as there's always a disclaimer with these questions. These tickets are non refundable. So you want to be 100% certain that you are going to be there the date that you're purchasing your tickets for. You want to plan around that date when scheduling your itinerary. But they do sell out. Some of the dates are very popular and will sell out earlier than others. So as soon as you know for sure that you want those tickets, go ahead and purchase them so that you don't miss out on the fun.
Yes, I agree. First days and last days sell out, typically the quickest. And the party, the closer you get, they do sell out too. So I completely agree. As soon as you know, purchase them.
That was a great question. question. And we love when our listeners send us questions. So if you would like to send one in, we will be happy to give it our best and try to answer it for you. There are several ways that you can contact us. First of all, you can send us an email either at podcast@storybookdestinations.com or a Disney Life at storybookdestinations.com. We're out there on some social media. You can find us on TikTok and Instagram at a Disney Life Pod. And we have a Facebook group where we post a few different reels through the week of what's happening here on the podcast. And that's a Disney Life Pod Facebook group. So please reach out to us and let us know if you have any questions. And that'll lead us right into our tip of the week. And it does actually have to deal with Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party. So if you purchase tickets for a party day, the party may not start till later on in the evening, but you can actually access the Magic Kingdom Park beginning at 4 p.m. that day with your party ticket, which is a few hours before the party itself starts. So there's no need to purchase a ticket for that day if you don't plan on being there earlier that day. And my further recommendation to you would be to try to schedule that party for part of the way through your trip, especially if you're going to be there for a full week. If you take yourself a rest day in the middle of the week and rest that morning, you can start getting into the park at 4 that afternoon, and it'll make it far more likely that your family will be able to make it all the way to midnight when that party ends. I can't
Yes.
even tell you how many people I have talked to over the years who were so excited to go to the Halloween party. But by the time the festivities start at 7 p.m., and then they wait for the parade, after fireworks, they're out of there. And you're missing the best time at the party if you do it that way, because the later in the night you get, the less the lines are going to be for the rides and attractions, and you're just missing out on a lot. So
Yes.
my recommendation, I guess that was like a million tips in one. Basically, my original tip was don't forget you can get in at 4 p.m., but also I urge you to take that day off from visiting another park so that you can sleep in, get some rest, and get your value out of that ticket because those tickets are not cheap.
Yes.
And on that note, that'll do it for episode 52 of a Disney Life podcast. We hope that you got something out of the experience here with us today. If you didn't learn anything, hopefully you were at least entertained and are looking forward to your next Disney trip. We appreciate you being here with us, whether it's your first time or if you've been with us from the beginning. And we hope that you have a great week. We'll talk to you next time.
See you next time.